Okay, so here we are at Antioch. Just finished their first engagement where Hugh's forces hit the screening cav. Now the screening cav then pulled back, taking some parting shots. They can't close. They can't get within 1 hex. I seem to remember there was a rule that they could, but I couldn't find it. So they have to stay at the 2 hex range. That makes hitting a little harder. Archers get a -1. There's another -1 for being a mounted archer. So against infantry, for example, they'd need a 2. They would need a 7 or higher to hit. And they didn't get anything, but they took some shots. They didn't shoot the cav because the cav could charge them if they shot it. Anyway, they got them out of there. They're not really an effective fighting force because of no command. However, this force is. Kerboiga was able to get 1 activation beyond that, beyond his free one, and he pulled these guys in. I think I actually cheated. I'm not allowed to get these guys out of there the way the rules are written, but I should. I think that's a mistake in the rules. I think I should be allowed to use these or bring reinforcements in. The way the rules are stated, it says Kerboiga has to, until he has 4 of his 5 stacks, use his free activations to bring those stacks in. That would just doom these guys, and that's not what historically happened. They ran. So I think as long as I activate them, and they're not very effective in combat, so activating them to get to use in combat seems pointless. The only reason to do it would be to get them out of there. Alright, so now we go to a Crusader activation. They get their free activation. I think they're going to want to bring their next column in, which is Godfrey, just to make sure they have at least 2 field forces on the board at once. And we're seeing a little bit more development. Hugh has started to advance and form up, essentially. Godfrey, we see him sort of streaming on. We see the Agulani. This is Syrian heavy cav following up. This is the stuff that's going to win the battle for this for the Mosul Turks if they can manage it. This is what will break the line. The first unit I brought in was mainly lights and some mediums, kind of a mixed force. I just wanted to get something with a good command rating up there, but this is the thing that I would count on as the big hammer. I've still got to bring 2 more in though, and I didn't get a continuation, so we're back to moving Crusaders, and I'll keep bringing their reinforcements in. A little further, and we're seeing both sides marshalling their forces. The Bishop Adamir pulling in here, Godfrey trying to move up to solidify, and lots and lots of Saracens coming onto the board. Alright, so the battle's actually starting now. You see a lot of the Saracen-type forces are already on the board. They're holding off Solomon, who comes down here. They're allowed to hold off 1, and that just looks like a horrible place at this point. If it ties down one of these commands of Crusaders, then it's probably doing about as good as it can. It's largely a cav force. I would love to have had it over on the other side, but having it back in the rear, originally it sounded like a great idea, but when I started to look at what that meant in this game, unless this pressure changes things, as long as this command is back there, I don't want to play with it. It doesn't really help me. So what do I have? Well, I had a little bit of skirmishing going on and actually managed to kill a pike unit just with the run up, shoot, run away, run up, shoot, and disordered another one. Very, very easy for the light cav to do that. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of light cav associated with this army. Got 4 units up here, another 3 here. We got these Turkoman lights, but they can't run close enough. They're too scared. And then I've got this infantry formation, which I'm not quite sure what to do with. Part of me wanted, if this stream served any purpose, I would be moving it up there, but it basically just slows infantry movement a little bit. So it doesn't seem terribly valuable there. It doesn't seem like I want this necessarily. I don't think I want this as my center, but I guess I need a center, and they're troops. What's useful about it, the only really useful thing that I see, is there's a line of 3 archers, which, while this isn't the original Men of Iron where archers are really, really potent, it is still more impressive than launching pikemen at pikemen. Alright, so I think I'm seeing the tactical difficulties that arise. They're going to be, just like in some of the older games, there was the, oh, you want a piece in every other hex. Well, in this, and over in the musket and pike, there are things that you start to learn. And in this case, one thing I'm learning is don't pack your light cav or anything you want with a chance to withdraw too tightly. The Crusaders have just set up an attack that is very, very likely to just destroy a couple of these units. I've still got to fire this archer. I didn't do that. And I haven't shown you how that works, have I? All you do is look at the fire range chart. 2 hexes, it's a -1. I look at different issues here. None of them are in effect. So I've got a -1, but because I'm firing at an archer, I'll fire at this guy. I get a response fire from him that's simultaneous. And he's going to be firing at a -1 and another -1 because he's mounted archers firing. So I'll use a white die for the Turks. Okay, so -1, 5 against mounted, and it's normal, not disordered. He's disordered, and an 8 or a 7 against the archer disorders that. So both are disordered. Now that would prevent a retreat anyhow, but I've got this charge coming up. I'll move that into place. There's no retreats, and now I'll roll out the combats. And because the defender couldn't retreat, we see 2 more cav dead, and that's bad. I mean, that was my mistake there. So we're up to a 6 factor. Painful ways to learn lessons, you know. It's hard to remember how all the different movement systems work. I should have known leave space for retreats, though. That's become kind of a common thing in a lot of these games more recently. And here again we see the power of the mounted knight just cutting through, knocked out a couple of the units from this command all on its own. Just an attack, and a continued attack. Could have gotten this one too, conceivably. You see the man-at-arms had some trouble fighting against the medium cav, but the pike managed to destroy. He got a retreat result. I'm not sure I would allow this normally. So the retreat's being blocked by friendly units. That would not prevent a retired result. A unit, I believe, can still retire even if its retreat is blocked. So if this was a battle that allowed retiring, I think I would prefer Is there any limitation there? Yeah. So I think I would prefer that a unit not dissolve unless it's surrounded by enemy zones of control. In this particular case, it doesn't much matter. There is no place to retire to. There's no banner. Anyway, go for a continuation again. Let me move. Let's try to see if I can get him. I think I've had one continuation. I forget to mark it. And he's not going to get it. So it's going to be a muscle turn. And, well, you know, we got an exposed flank. We'll see if they can do something with the units that they have up there. This could have been classic Saracen tactics. But point-wise, the flight points were up to 10 for the Turks and only 1 for the Crusaders. And remember, the Turks, where do they go? They only have to make 35. The Crusaders are at 20. Their limits. Okay. And we see the Turks sweep down to try to catch Godfrey's force now that it turned the flank. Unfortunately, they didn't get a continuation, and they didn't do a lot of damage. Well, they didn't do any damage, really. So, we're back on the Crusaders. So we see Hugh continues to press forward and is destroying this thing. We're up to 14 flight points, all from dead Cav. We didn't get a continuation though, so Godfrey is kind of exposed here. So the Mosul heavy Cav has moved up and it's prepared to make its charge. Now, it's hitting a couple of the Crusader Knights. That's a risky move, but I need to break this center mass, and I have to take this chance here as far as I'm concerned. We'll see how this turns out. Basically, a quick snapshot of what we're seeing is some serious successes by the heavy Cav hitting there. Now here it was, both were disordered. Saw Godfrey knocked out, and one of his knights is knocked out. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But we also saw a loss of a heavy Cav, which are all worth 3, just like knights are. All right, let's keep pushing. Largely, the heavy Cav attack, the continued attacks, just momentum coming through, failed. We have both here and here disordered units. The leader didn't die. But we got one that smashed into the archers, and now it's going to hit the flank of these Burgundian pike. Well, it cut through them pretty easily, but then it hit this other pike unit. Got another continuation on the first one. It hit this other pike unit. No harm done to anyone. The attack just petered out. Alright, let's see about a continuation. I want to get these guys moving over here. That'll take a 3. Yep. These mediums did a good job. They swung by, shot up, destroyed one unit, wounded a man-at-arms, or disordered a man-at-arms. They didn't do too well against this man-at-arms. They had a flank rear attack on him and still couldn't budge him. But now we got another continuation with the heavies, and I've got charges coming in. I want to get rid of that Cav. There's no question there. I'm going to try to get rid of that. Well, that didn't go too well. Mutual disorder here. Here they forced the Crusader unit to retire, killed the leader. So now Hugh is dead, but they were disordered as well, and their own leader's dead, which is worse than they expected. Their odds against the man-at-arms were pretty bad. They actually got away light on that, but the knight, they should have done well. So right now we're at 19 to 12 on flight points. It looks like the Turks are doing pretty well, though.